I can see it, but you guys can't see what I see. I thought I'd start with a little bit of history on me and Derek. So Derek and I are 2 of 7 kids. My mother's in the right here. My clicker's having a hard time here, I think. So, Derek loved having 5 sisters. He was sandwiched right in between 2 older sisters and 3 younger sisters, and he loved it. Right, Derek? Had one brother, Mark, and then Sherilyn. We all know Sherilyn. Round of applause for Sherilyn. And then myself, and then Tana, and then Derek, Kara, and Jill. Yeah, okay. So, growing up, I was always like a 3.8 student, and I was okay with that. I graduated college with a 3.8. But Derek was always smarter than me. He'd always get the 4.0. But Derek was no match for my sneaky, devious, manipulative ways. I was wiser. He may have been smarter, but I was wiser. Wait a second. I'll tell a little story. So I was about 14, I think Derek's about 10, and I decided to make a batch of cookies. And when you have 6 siblings and you make a batch of cookies, you can use that batch of cookies to get them to do what things that you want. If you're the maker of the cookies, you get to decide who gets to eat the cookies. And I decided that I wanted a foot massage. And anyone who wanted a cookie had to give me a 10-minute foot massage. So I made my batch of cookies, left them on the table, and sat on the couch and said, anyone who wants some cookies can come give me a 10-minute massage. And several of my siblings fell for it. And Derek said, well, Melanie, 10 minutes is a long time. I said, well, here's the deal. You can massage me for 10 minutes, or you can massage me for 5 kernels. He's like, well, what's 5 kernels? I said, well, kernels is an undetermined amount of time. It can be 3 seconds, and the next kernel could be 2 minutes. But see, in his mathematical mind, 5 was less than 10. So he decided that he wanted to do for 5 kernels. Who's wiser? So 2 people start at the same time. Derek's on one foot and Kara's on the other. And Kara's 2 minutes goes by, and Derek's already done 3 kernels. And he's laughing at Kara. And that 4th kernel, Kara was long gone. But you can't quit now. You only have 1 kernel left. I got a 20-minute massage. So the moral of the story is A, some people will do anything for a cookie. B, never negotiate with an older, wiser, sneakier big sister. Who's smarter now? Or C, some things are subjective and are not absolute. Oh, yes, Derek. Oh, yes. I just wanted to have that on there for a minute so I could see a look on his face. So, Derek had a pair of Superman underwear. They were called Superman underoos. Do you guys remember underoos? Let's just say that Derek loved his underoos. And I think he had one pair and never wanted to take them off. There they are. That's exactly what he wore. And when Derek was wearing his Superman underoos, he thought he was Superman. And I can remember, Derek would do anything for a laugh, too, for his sisters, because he thought if his sisters could laugh, he was, he fit in. So we decided to make a barricade because he was pretending how he could fly through the air. So we put tables and chairs and all these things, and we said, okay, you have to jump over this pile of stuff, and you can't touch it. And Cheryl and I are the judges, and we're going to sit right here. And you go ahead and jump, and you land on these cushions. We'll put some cushions here for you. And we're going to rate you a 1 through 10. And Derek would come running across the room with all his might, injure himself. And we're laughing and pointing and said, you got a 7. You got a 7. And Derek knew that 10 was the best, so he would try it again. But we knew that if we gave him a 10, he would stop. So we gave him an 8. We gave him an 8. And then he would get discouraged. And he would just about stop. We'd say, 9. You got a 9. And he kept going because he was after that number 10. I don't think we ever gave it to him. So the moral of the story, Superman underoos really do give superpowers to those who believe they are invincible. Or B, never underestimate the influence of 3 older sisters looking for a good laugh. Or C, some things are subjective and are not absolute. So I want to ask you a question. What are you worth? The first thing I think people think of is what your net worth. So you think, okay, well, your net worth is sometimes called wealth. It's the total assets minus your liabilities. So it's the amount by which your assets exceed your liabilities. The thing with net worth is it is subjective. It can fluctuate, and it's not absolute. Important things that you take into account when you're determining your net worth is your cash, your savings, your investments, your retirement funds. All of that can fluctuate. Appreciation and depreciation, your supply and demand, your location, your cost of living, all these can change your net worth. But I want to ask you another question about what are you worth? I have on my dresser this right here. And I look at it almost every day as I get my clothes out. It says individual worth. I am of infinite worth. with my own divine mission, which I will strive to fulfill. So unlike our net worth, I believe our individual worth, it is not subjective on things and outside influences, our experiences. Our individual worth is not subjective on any of those things, and it is absolute and infinite. I want to talk about this statement and just kind of break it apart a little bit. So I am of infinite worth. I have here a $100 bill. Nice, crisp $100 bill. So what is this worth? It's worth $100. What? Yeah. So, what's it worth now? What's it worth? What's it worth now? Now what is it worth? It didn't taste very good either. How often do we feel like this stepped on, spit on, crinkled up $100 bill, but we don't feel like we're worth the full $100 bill? Sometimes people that we trust, people that we love, betray us. Sometimes people that we love and that we trust make us feel less than what we're worth. Sometimes people that we trust and people that we love abuse us, whether it's sexually, emotionally. I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to be a little girl and to be sexually abused, and what that can do, and what that can do to make your self-worth. And unfortunately, according to statistics, 3 out of 5 of you in this room can relate to that. Derek will talk about a foundation that we will be starting that's very, very dear to both of us, and I'll let him talk about that. But I just want to remind you that bad experiences and outside influences that make us feel like we are no longer worth what we are, but you are. We are of infinite worth. Your worth is absolute. It is unwavering, and it is not relative to other people's perceptions of you. Your worth is not relative to how other people treat you or to negative experiences outside of your control. So if people treat you poorly, it is not a reflection of your worth. So the second part of this is with my own divine mission. There's my dad. I love my dad. I want to talk about some things that I inherited from my dad. I'm a little bit stubborn. I'm a lot stubborn. I got that from my dad. I was born confident. Definitely got that from my dad. I have a very matter-of-fact personality. And actually passed that on to my daughter there, sitting on my dad's lap. I inherited my dad's dark hair. And I'm tall, like my dad. And my dad has these really skinny legs. No matter what I do, my legs will stay skinny. I hired a personal trainer, and I worked with him for 3 days a week, and I got buff arms. I'm talking, you could see shoulders, you could see biceps. I had abs of steel, but my legs were sticks. Thanks, Dad. So I can't help but think, if I inherited all these traits from my Father on earth, I have to believe that I also inherited traits from my Father in heaven. I am a daughter of a king. You are sons and daughters of a king. We inherited traits from a king. Unique's mission is to uplift, empower, and validate. It doesn't matter if you make $50 a month, $500 a month, $5,000, $50,000 a month. That is not what determines your worth. I want you to know that I love you, and I'm so incredibly humbled and grateful to be in any kind of a position to influence so many women. I love the strength and power of sisterhood. Which I will strive to fulfill, and that is our mission. And I want you to remember that you are of infinite worth and that I love you. Thank you.